Hey there. If you are hearing no much more often than you would really like to, and you want your buyers to say yes to you more often, I mean, who doesn't want that, right? Then you are in the right place because that's exactly what we're going to be talking about right now. Now, I don't understand why my video is not working, but I'm just going to go ahead and go with this. So, my name's Winnie Anderson. I am a brand and content strategist. I specialize in what I refer to as buyer enablement. That's giving your buyers the information, tools, and resources they need to say yes easier and faster. I use a framework that I've developed called pre-selling, and I work with my clients to educate, elevate, inspire, and invite their buyers to take action. In this video, I'm going to share with you, in very broad terms, of course, the reasons why your buyers, your prospects, do not say yes to you with the kind of volume and consistency that you would like. So let's dive in. You know how this works. Feel free to ask questions. I will circle back and get back to you. And here we go. So buying is a matter of trust. Oh, one thing before I go on, I have notes in front of me and I have a second monitor that I am looking at the same time. So buying is really a demonstration of trust. And if a buyer does not say yes, one big component, and it's very likely a gumbo of reasons, meaning there are a lot of things that are contributing to the recipe of people saying no, but a very big one is that they just don't trust. They don't trust you, which can be a hard thing to accept. They don't trust you. They may not trust themselves. They may not trust your solution, which is really another way to say I don't trust you. You know, there's an old saying in sales that nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. And why that is such a great ism is because it speaks to the fact that people, when they're unsure, they're going to go with the name brand all the time. They are going to go with that trustworthy brand that, hey, I bought the big brand. I don't understand why this didn't work, right? And they're not going to get in trouble. So if your buyer has any level of perceived risk, and we're going to get into this next because risk is another reason they don't buy, they're going to choose somebody else, or they're at least going to postpone making a decision. Buyers classify their actions around a purchase in 4 ways. One is that it's essential. The problem is essential to fix and fix now, or the solution is essential to fixing this problem. Either way, this is essential. It's a justifiable indulgence. Perhaps there's a way for them to rationalize making this purchase. We've all done that, and that's because we make purchases based on emotion. So, for example, there's a woman I know who told me once that she was never going to sign up for a recorded program ever again, unless there was a big live component to it. And the reason is because she learns best live, through the interaction, bouncing ideas off of people, having that conversation among her peers, and that facilitated conversation with the instructor. So to her, spending more money in terms of travel expense, etc., it's worth it. It's a justifiable indulgence because she knows she'll get more value out of that purchase. So it's essential to justifiable indulgence. Next is it's postponable. Boy, if your buyer thinks they can kick the can down the street and that's what they're doing, not taking action, yeah, I'll get to that soon, that's a problem. And you haven't created enough of a connection between the impact the problem is having and what it's keeping them from doing, being, or having in their life, their business, etc. So they are really not seeing it. And I'm going to do that sometime, right? We've all done this. We've all thought, I got to get my car in for service. I got to get my car in for service. But then, you know, at some point it becomes urgent because you realize the disaster that could befall you if you don't change your oil and filter, right? So that's something that I don't have to do it right this minute, but I know I have to do it. It's postponable. If it's expendable, that means that this is a problem that, you know, this thing that I'm buying, it doesn't even solve a problem. Maybe it's an imaginary problem, or it really was an indulgence that I could rationalize, and now I can't rationalize it. Maybe there's a piece of technology now that has made this simpler, and I can get rid of this tool over here. So these kinds of classifications happen all the time as buyers are working through their mind how to make a decision to make a purchase. But the biggest issue is they just don't trust you, or they don't trust your solution, which is really the same thing. They perceive that the risk is too great for them. So, and this is again back to nobody got fired for buying IBM. Where with risk, there's obviously a payoff, an intended payoff, a return on the investment that your buyer wants based on the investment that they're making. And the investment is not just a financial one, it's how much time, effort, reputation, exposure do I have. So there is a whole host of risks that your buyer is dealing with. One is that you won't deliver. So if you are not the name brand in your industry, you're not top of mind with most people, you're not the go-to solution provider for fill in the blank, then it'll trust you, the risk isn't worth it, and they might end up making another choice for another provider who, you know, is probably not going to deliver what your target needs. But what really is coming down to is you're not helping them understand and feel confident about the risks. So how do you deal with trust and risk issues? Lots of things. One is, of course, testimonials. Buyers are looking for proof elements. I've talked about them before in another video. Proof elements are signals to the buyer that you can do what you say you can do, and that they can buy with confidence. There are lots of trust signals out there. When you sell online, a trust signal might be a Better Business Bureau rating or a Trustpilot rating, all of those kinds of things. And one reason is because we trust the opinion of total strangers over advertisers, marketers, and businesses. So those are really the top two, trust and risk. There, and this sense of urgency. So the top three, I should say, really, the trust, risk, and the level of urgency your buyer feels. Gurus will tell you that you can create urgency. I'm here to tell you that's BS. You cannot create urgency. If you try to create urgency, what you're doing is creating fear of missing out, and you're creating a reactionary purchase that there is a good chance that person is going to regret, right? Buyer's remorse. So you cannot manufacture urgency. What you can do is help a buyer tap into it, give them what they need, the information, tools, and resources to be able to say, yeah, that's worth the risk. I'm willing to give this a shot and give it my all. Next is that and these aren't really in any specific order now. This is just how I made the notes. They don't agree with your point of view. What's your point of view? It's your beliefs, your values, your philosophy, and your approach around the work you do, the problem that you solve. This is part of what you're getting out in content. So if I tell you that pre-selling is the way to stop selling and start helping clients decide to buy, and that you need to educate your buyer, elevate yourself, inspire them about the future, and then invite them to take action, and you think that sounds like a load of BS, you're not going to buy from me, right? Don't know why you're watching my video then. So this is really important for you to, one, get over this whole issue of you're being rejected. No, you're not. They're rejecting some element of your point of view that doesn't resonate with them. When you try to convince people, you feel salesy, they feel sold to. You're pushy. You're trying to convince instead of trying to educate and invite, right? So you can't manufacture urgency. All you can do is help them make the best decision that's right for them. And you have to do that by detaching from the outcome. And that means that you are still a good person, whether they buy or not. Making a note to myself, because I don't talk about detaching from the outcome enough. And I want to talk to the group that I am leading right now, my summer camp group, because that's an important issue for them. If you want some information about summer camp, let me know. So they also don't believe the problem is important enough to address right now. Okay, right? So back to, if they can't rationalize that it's a justifiable indulgence, they're going to postpone it. They might even not want it. They might not want your solution. They might not want to solve the problem. This really means that you're talking to people on the wrong side of the mountain, right? So you want to always talk to people on the right side of the mountain. These are people who know they have a problem. They are ready and able to fix it. They're interested, right? They might be unsure if now's the right time, but you're going to then use your content, your collateral, to educate, elevate, inspire, and invite, and you guide them down the mountain to where they make the purchase. You're really using your content. I refer to it as your value path, and you guide them through their buying journey down this mountain to where they work with you, right? I just noticed how flushed my face is because it's really hot in here. So they disagree with your perception of the problem. They disagree with your solution. They disagree with your whole perspective. You've got to share it boldly. You've got to be confident and clear and courageous in your message. And it starts with clarity, because then you can be courageous and you can confidently put forth that information. Confidence comes from clarity and courage. If you don't have those two first, you're really not going to, you're going to feel unsure and you're not going to be confident. They don't see the value, right? They don't see that the return on investment, time, effort, etc., is worth it. They don't feel that it's worthy of the effort that you're asking them to make. They don't know you exist at all. This is a huge one, because this is where they're either not even finding you, or it's back to trust. I don't know who you are. And now you're asking me for money? I don't know, right? So while gurus will advocate a high ticket offer, and I agree that that's great. I have high ticket offers myself. That's not how they sell. If you really notice how gurus sell, they sell with either a free event, but now what they really sell with are low ticket events. So they'll charge anywhere from a few dollars to a couple of $100 and get you to pay for their event, because that person who has made a purchase, they're more invested, they're more committed, and they're more likely to take the next step and pay for that higher level. So to think you can go from zero to selling a high ticket, yes, you can. It's completely possible. But you better make sure that you are really talking to somebody who has the need, has the want, and has the ability to make the decision and take action. Often easier to start with a low to mid ticket and get them to prove yourself, right? You've built trust, you've delivered, their risk is lowered, and then it's easier to step up. If you want more information about that, let me know. Say offer escalation, and we'll talk about that at some point. So they don't know you exist. They don't understand your message or your offer. I have been at so many events, including online and offline, where people have introduced themselves or they've given a little presentation, 15 minutes on what they do. I have no idea what they just said. None, zero, zip. I have people try and give these fancy expert titles, or they say, and I also do this. And that just makes you sound unclear and unfocused. So you really want to think about keeping your message as short, to the point as possible. In the words of the late great David Ogilvy, you want to be clear, not clever. Too often, especially we marketers, we get so caught up in our own cleverness that we try to come up with all these different cutesy ways of saying something. Get to the point and shut up. Really you're probably talking to the wrong people, or you're not talking to the right people consistently, which is the same thing. You're talking to the wrong people. You want to always make sure that you're talking to people on the right side of the mountain, and you want to understand what kinds of background, qualities, what knowledge do they already have to have in order to bring to this. For one, they need to know they have a problem. They need to be actively looking for a solution or actively open to one. So you really want to make sure that, back to clarity, courage, and confidence, you've got to make sure that you have your message nailed and that you are getting it out there. And you can't think your way out of a problem like this. You've got to actually figure out your message and then practice it, both orally as well as in writing. Because, of course, you're putting out your message verbally. Right? When you meet people, you create visual content or audio content, or you're going on a podcast or live stream, that sort of thing. But you also need to create written content, because that's the backbone of the web, right? It's all the articles, the newsletters, the blog posts, etc. So you want to make sure that your content is findable. Now, yes, there's voice search, and we can talk about that at some point. If you are interested in that, say voice search below, and I'll know I need to do it sooner rather than later. But really, you want to be able to create and repurpose, is my point, your content. One problem this really speaks to also, you're just talking to the wrong people, is inertia. Inertia is the effort is just too great. I was talking to my oldest sister, who I adore, and she was complaining about her flabby upper arms. She calls them my mom arms. And she said, I really want to do something about these flabby arms. I'm just so unhappy. She has great skin, and she looks great. Flabby arms, that's the least of her problems. However, so I said, oh, that's an easy one to fix. You got to lift weights. I said, I can show you, because mine have flabby arms. She's like, do I have to? So people want the solution, but they don't necessarily want to take the effort. Again, you're talking to the wrong people, right? Because every solution requires some level of effort. You want to, of course, make it as easy for your clients to achieve their goals as possible. But let's face it, you got to take action. Here's a dirty little secret about training. And I used to be a corporate director of training. So I can tell you, whether it was the corporate classroom or the external classroom, teaching, independent business professionals, most people don't take action. Most people don't apply what they've learned. So that's really what the secret is. You got to get clear, be courageous, be confident about your message, but you also got to get it out. You got to say it. As I said, you can't think your way out of the problem. You got to practice your way out of the problem. So that means getting your message out, getting feedback, and making adjustments as you go on. You're not top of mind. That's another problem. So timing is a big issue. You hear people who say, oh, I'd love to do that, but this isn't a good time for me. Or, oh, I wish I had just met you. I already spent money on that. So timing is really so much a part of marketing and selling your services. So how do you do that? One is you never stop marketing. You constantly get your message out. Even if you've got a full practice and your next problem is how can you maximize your revenue without killing yourself? You've got to continuously get your message out so you do stay top of mind. So when you are ready for a new client and you have some space in your calendar, you're ready to implement something new, people are ready, willing, and interested in what you offer. So I know I've gotten into bad habits myself about, I haven't posted. You've got to get committed and get into a schedule. And that's why I call them success habits. So you really have to embrace the habits that are then going to help you achieve the goals that you want. And that takes action. Nobody's in charge of your schedule but you. You might think everybody else is. They're not. So you really need to think, am I really standing up for myself? And am I taking charge of my time? And I'm making the priorities that need to be priorities. Am I making them the top of my schedule? And am I taking action on them? So just to do a real quick recap, the reasons people don't buy tend to fall into a couple of big categories. One is they don't trust enough. They feel the risk is too great, which is tied to trust. There's a sense of urgency that they are not feeling. And another is that they're the wrong person. And really, the unsaid here is that there are fears or worries that are dominating them and they're unable to take that step. There could be also some technical issues like, your solution isn't a fit for them for a variety of reasons. It could be that they don't have the authority to buy. So there are lots of different elements that come into play here, but in big terms, they're trust, risk, urgency, fears, and you're just talking to the wrong people. All right. So hopefully that's given you some food for thought and some ways to think about it. What you really need to do is you need to market all the time. You need to provide the kind of information that people need at each point along the buying journey and down the mountain to being ready to make that purchase. So if you have plenty of prospects and they're saying no, you want to look at helping them decide, and you want to address the questions and concerns that they have so they feel confident about making the purchase. They might be ready to buy or hire a solution provider, but they don't know how to choose. So here, that's the kind of content that's helpful. If they are, pointing, if they're interested, but they're not quite ready to say yes, then these folks, they need to understand why they need to take action now. That this really is an important thing. Things are only going to get worse and you don't realize that, or that sort of thing. So again, it can be a piece of content or collateral that educates them about this and helps them to really get in touch with the impact of the problem and the potential return that you offer. But you want to make sure this information is presented in a very generic way, that it's not openly chest thumping about you, because that's a complete turnoff. And it's when buyers feel really sold to, and you come across as pushy. So the key is to make content most effective is to make it be fairly agnostic, and you are genuinely helping people decide to buy. The reason why that ends up paying off for you is because you are truly pre-selling people. They're using your information to sell themselves. Your content answers the questions that they have. They feel good. They take the next step down the mountain. Content at this level, this can be the kind of content that helps people recognize, put a name to their problem. Oh, that's the issue. I refer to something called a hair on fire problem. And the hair on fire problem, they're those initial symptoms, right? Oh my God, I have a rash. What is it? And then they start thinking, oh boy, I did some weeding. Did I come into contact with poison ivy or poison oak or that sort of thing, right? And then they start the search for a diagnosis and what can I do to deal with the burning, itching, and scratching. So you want to make sure that you've got very broad content out there that captures their attention around this hair on fire problem, helps them solve that problem, but also helps them recognize that that's just going to come back unless you buy my super duper hazmat suit to do your gardening in, or whatever it is that you're selling. So that is how you help, first of all, attract better quality leads and prospects, and then give them the information, tools, and resources in order to sell themselves and help them say yes to working with you and do it easier and faster. So you want to always make sure that you are talking to people who are at least aware of the problem that they have. All right, hope that helps. Go out, be fruitful and multiply, and make lots of sales, and make those little dollars grow. And feel free to ask any questions. One of the things that I do is I do a value path audit. Your value path is the content and collateral that you use to guide people in to your path and guide them along their buying journey so they they have what they need to say yes easier and faster. So if you would like to figure this out, is it my message? Is it my content? What am I missing? Drop me a line and just say value path audit below, and I'll reach out to you and we can talk about how to have one done and what it can possibly do for you. All right, I will catch up with you. I'm going to get something to drink. It's hot in here, and turn these lights out. See ya.